I grew up in a Christian family, going to church at the Methodist Church, and I don't think I ever really met any missionaries until I was in high school, and I met a girl on a retreat who was going to be serving in Ghana, West Africa, for 2 years. And I thought it was really cool, but I never really thought it would be me. I went on my first international mission trip in the summer of 2002 to Honduras, and this was a totally different trip than any trip I had ever been on before. I'd never seen such poverty. I had never been in the midst of a group of people who were just so different and poor. And I remember riding on the bus one morning, going out into the community that we were working in and thinking, these people have no hope. These kids have no hope. And immediately God reminded me of Jeremiah 29:11 and the fact that He has hope for them and He has plans for them. And that forever changed the way I looked at missions and the way I looked at the world, to know that these kids and these people really have a hope and a future.
Send us with fire to go love the world. Send us with fire to go love the world. Send us with fire to go love the world. Send us with fire to go love the world.
The summer after my senior year of high school, I went to something called One Day in Sherman, Texas, and it was actually 3 days. And I remember sitting in the field on the last day and just hearing a lot about missions and hearing a lot about what God was doing around the world, and just really feeling like God was calling me to a lifetime of missions. And later that summer, I went to Ghana, West Africa, and that forever changed me.
You said, ask and you will receive whatever you need. You said, pray and I'll hear from heaven, and I'll heal your land. I'll heal your land.
Being in Ghana was so different and so amazing. I left Ghana thinking that I was going to spend the rest of my life there, because I had experienced such peace and such confirmation that that was where God wanted me to be, and that He was really calling me to a lifetime of missions.
Let the river flow. Let the river flow. Holy.
After I got back from Ghana, I started at Berry College, and I was sure that as soon as I finished with Berry, I would be moving back to Ghana. I decided to major in early childhood education because God, I felt like, had given me a vision to teach English to kids who didn't speak it in other countries, and I had experienced a little bit of that in Ghana. And so I started off at Berry, and God gave me some great relationships and took me through a really crazy journey along the way. Towards the end of my freshman year, I was planning on going back to Ghana for that summer as an intern, and was going to work with some missionaries there, but they all ended up coming home. And so I was talking to someone from the Mission Society, and he suggested I go to Mexico because I had taken some Spanish classes and really liked working with kids. I wasn't really excited about that idea, but God really changed my heart and took me to a place that was really hard and really different, but He grew me so much that summer.
Take my hands to the promised land, and on you I wanna stand, 'cause I cannot do it on my own. You're what I need, and I need to be right by your side, 'cause I cannot hide, Lord, I know that I need you. Na 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 na, need you.
I lived with a family that summer that spoke no English, and I spoke very little Spanish. And even though I was working with a Mission Society couple, I spent a lot of time in that home with that family, and it was really hard and I wanted to go home every day. But even in the midst of that, God taught me so much, and taught me so much about being dependent on Him and being satisfied in Him, and just trusting that His thoughts and His ways are so much higher and so much better than my thoughts and my ways.
Amazed in the presence of Jesus the Nazarene, and I wonder how He...
It's kind of funny how God works, because within a week of me being back in the States, God was already laying on my heart that He wanted me to go back to Monterey that Christmas. So I did, with 3 friends from school. And it was amazing. He had sustained relationships that I never thought would be sustained, and had sustained my Spanish as well.
How marvelous, how wonderful, and my song shall ever be.
Well, I ended up going back to Monterey the next summer and staying with the same family, and just saw again that God had really sustained relationships. So it was getting towards my senior year of college, and I was sitting on a bed one morning just praying about what God wanted me to do next, and just felt so sure that He was calling me to go back to Monterey. And so in August, after graduating in May, I packed up and drove to Monterey. I knew before I got to Monterey that I was going to be working in an elementary school, but what I didn't know is that I would be a full-time first grade teacher. All throughout Barry, even though God had given me that vision so much before that I would be working with kids, teaching them English, I never really wanted to be working as a full-time teacher in an elementary school. But I knew that God had placed me in Monterey for a reason, and I trusted that. And so even though that first year was so hard, He taught me again what it means to really be dependent on Him and know that He sustains me.
Todos necesitan amor que nunca falla, tu gracia.
I knew that God was calling me to work at that school, but I also knew that He was calling me to work among the poor. And He led me into a community called Nuevo Almaguer that is just really poor, and I learned being there and serving there what it really means to love and what it really means to be loved. I've never felt such peace in a place, and I've never felt such assurance that that was exactly where God wanted me to be.
Todos necesitan perdón y esperanza, y un Dios que salva.
As the end of my first year came to an end, I really started praying about what God might want me to do during my second year, and I knew being an elementary school teacher wasn't really what He had created me to do. I knew that I wasn't finding joy in Him, and I wasn't finding joy in what I was doing. And so I just started reflecting on the past few years of my life and realized that He had put teenagers in my path a lot. And so I started working with teenagers at the beginning of my second year, and it was so different and so full of joy.
Es una aventura conocerte, caminar y obedecerte y vivir por ti.
So my second year was really just a time of me getting to pour into teenagers and getting to watch as God grew them and as He changed their hearts and He changed their minds. I kept on working in the community that I was working in the year before, and really just got to experience a year full of joy and peace. I would have to say that those 2 years, 2 summers before and my first hard year were totally worth it, just to be able to experience 1 year, just knowing that God's timing is perfect, and knowing that He's trustworthy, and knowing that at the end I truly can say, God, I trust You.
Es una aventura estar contigo, en caminar y ser tu amigo.